Hey, here we are, Dr. Fred with Lead Coaching, Dr. Joe Ferrantelli with Posture Co., and our silent giant has been awakened out of hibernation. One of the original founders, Dr. Dean Harrison, is joining us. And yes, we are kicking up Chiro United. You know why? Because we've been listening to you guys, literally hundreds of you complaining for a year and a half, and we do accept responsibility. It's completely our fault, and now we are back. And we want to welcome, we were flying in formation. There was one plane missing last year and a half, and here he is, Dr. Deed.
Well, we're going to say he's our guest. He's our guest on the podcast,
Right.
And I'm coming to you guys right from Park City, where we should have a CBP seminar right now. I'm having it privately on the ski slopes, reminiscing about CBP here in February.
Yeah, you look like you're hurting.
Yeah,
Life's hard, Joe.
I'm trying.
Life's hard, and then there's skiing.
Yes.
Hey, so what do we want to talk about this evening, gentlemen?
I think what we're talking about, since this is going to CBP, and you're the leader right here, that, man, you have so many things going on with the research, and you have so many projects going on. I think we just catch people up with what's going on in CBP and what your vision is and where you're taking this.
Wow, I mean that's a big thing. I mean, certainly I'll talk a little bit about CBP, but obviously, Fred, you know this. You've got a huge following with Elite Coaching, and Joe's got a huge following with Posture Co. and such. But we'll launch it out collectively to all our groups. But I think that, for me, there's been some big life changes. And obviously the reason I took a little sabbatical is, just simply for some personal issues that were happening in my life. And I think everybody, kind of knows that now. And that divorce and personal challenges. So I had to take a little bit of a back seat, if you will, from the driver's train. Even though I was doing a lot, I was kind of trying to also get my personal, shit together. So, I mean, when that happens, it's a tough thing, and to maintain an amicable relationship with your ex-partner, that's a hard task. But I'm happy to say that I did that, and things are really, really great. CBP's really strong, and I'm ready to kick off 2018 with a huge bang, and I think we have.
Yeah, you have. We've had, I go to the CBP seminars, got the research that you guys are putting out, and you got the Diplomate program and the attendance at the seminars. Man, the week-longs are sold out, and the amount of CBP certified docs that you're putting out, and there's boatloads of students going, and it's just so much growth. You're getting invited on all kinds of different stages. So why don't you catch us up a little bit with that?
Well, first of all, we just had CalJam, and CalJam was last weekend or 2 weeks ago. And, we were all there. This year I was fortunate enough to be, a platform speaker for Dr. Billy DeMoss and Dr. Brad Glowacki and Mary Jane. And then, of course, Fred, you were a speaker for them last year. So you know what that's like. It's a huge event. Anytime you get to speak to 2,500 or 3,000 chiropractors and their partners, their staff members, it's a big deal. So that was for me, that was a big start to 2018. And we all know what Billy DeMoss goes through for taking a stance and taking a position in chiropractic and in healthcare. He gets crap from all directions. So just to be able to be part of that and help promote what he's trying to do, it was a great thing for me.
Yeah, it was. And everybody listening, I don't practice anymore, but, when I go to CBP, I miss practicing. And when I go to CalJam, I miss practicing. Mm-hmm. So for all you CBP people out there, we get tons of mechanics, and sometimes, or a lot of times, you just need to get the principle and move from your head to your heart. We get lots of biomechanics. And really, the principle and the mechanics together is such a powerful combination. So if you haven't gone, definitely go next year.
Yeah, there's phenomenal speakers from all diverse backgrounds too that are there to bring different aspects of health, and it was really a great one this year. And we've been going for what, 7 or 8 years? We've been there.
Yeah, I think since 2011, Joe.
Yeah, that's
this year with what Fred said about CBP nonprofit and CBP research. The reason I brought up CalJam is not because that was the first big event of the year, but to me, CBP nonprofit was finally recognized by an organization that's big enough to make a difference, CalJam. We got their research monetary award for the year. Every year, Billy and Brad collectively take a percentage of the proceeds of the CalJam event, and instead of pocketing it in their own pockets, doing something personal for it, they give back to chiropractic. And this year, they picked CBP nonprofit, and they gave us $10,000 as a research gift. And Joe, you're a member of the board of CBP nonprofit, so you know what that really means to us. That's really one of the biggest. Well, I think it is the biggest donation we've received in a long time.
Yeah, it is. And that goes, we don't obviously go out, and I don't take that money and go snow skiing on it, which,
even though you're in Park City.
Yeah, exactly. But that really goes a long way for us. I mean, we do a lot of research papers on a shoestring budget, whereas there's a lot of schools and universities that can't even get a paper out. In some of these colleges, that have done research, if you talk to any university professor, they're looking at $50,000, $100,000 to do a basic reliability study, let alone doing, randomized clinical control trials like what we're doing. So, we all work for free, on our end, and it was just a great gift, that they did for us, for sure.
Well, and I want to add also, for everybody listening to this, and this will be on Ideal Spine. If you put in $100 a month, I mean, everyone can afford $100 a month.
Yeah.
We had 1,000 there's 7,000 doctors that are on your list. If we just had 1,000 paying $100 a month, that would fund everything you need for the year comfortably.
Yep.
So
yeah, exactly.
$100 a month, guys.
Yeah, exactly. It kind of, it's two things. It breaks my heart, Fred and Joe, that you have to, always beg for money from practicing chiropractors. But right, if everybody pitched in and just gave $100, we could do a lot with it. I mean, we do so many papers now. We're pumping out some great stuff, and we're doing the average project literally on $1,000 to $2,000, and that's unheard of in healthcare. To really publish a paper from start to finish on $1,000 to $2,000. I mean, come on.
Yep.
So how many papers you think you'll do this year? Rough estimate.
We're on track for 25 peer-reviewed publications this year.
Yep.
Yeah, 25. So, hey, 2,000, that's 50,000. Well, what if you had an extra 1,000? Would it make you a little more comfortable?
Yeah, it would make it a lot more comfortable. And what we could do is actually not better, because we already do some amazing work, but we could do some bigger projects.
Yep.
Some projects that I got to save up for.
Yeah, that's $75,000, and we barely even started with all the other stuff. That doesn't include all the money you get for schools and putting equipment in there.
Right.
I know Sherman has a CBP club now. You got all the Life and the Life University and the foreign schools, and man, there's just a lot of Sherman's opening up schools in Puerto Rico.
Ooh.
So there's a lot of potential. Really need like 500,000.
Yeah, let me ask you something, Deed. If somebody's new listening to this, where would they go to find more information about CBP nonprofit and our research papers?
Yeah, and this is the crazy thing. That's a great question, and I can never answer it with just a simple answer, Joe. But
I know, I just like putting you on a spot. I like it.
In the past, people. What I mean by people is some of the naysayers that really just don't like CBP. They publish some information saying we only had a handful of studies, or we had one clinical trial and 6 case reports, and I mean just nonsense statements, and it would make it in the literature. And what we decided to do as a board, and Joe, you know this well, is decided to put together a website where we could promote CBP nonprofit, and one of the pages on that website has the entire list of our peer-reviewed publications, links to their abstracts in PubMed or CINHL when available. And by when available, I mean some of the studies are a little bit older and they don't have a link to the abstract, but you can still order the article, whatever. So if you go to www.cbpnonprofit.com, you can see a list of over 200 of our peer-reviewed publications and roughly 34 letters to the editor.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. And on that site, too, there's also videos of you reviewing a lot of these studies, too, right?
Yeah.
The YouTube channel.
That's right. I do a video review of every CBP nonprofit research publication, and the first 45 to 48 of them, put them on YouTube for free so we could educate, number one, chiropractors. Number two, we could also educate the public and the consumer out there. Number three, then this leads into, Fred asking what in the hell's going on this year and where have I been? It's leading into the new CBP online continuing education program that's really going to host a big part of the new CBP Diplomate program.
Yeah, so you want to talk a bit about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to, and you guys chime in, please. Because I can go on and on, but to begin with, I'll say this, and then we'll go back and forth here. CBP is the first technique that I know of in the history of the profession to truly receive a diplomate status program through a national or an international organization, and specifically the ICA went ahead and said we're going to put together and endorse and sponsor the CBP Diplomate program, and that's a huge deal. And for those of you listening out there, you might go, well, the Gonstead Society has a diplomate, and not a legitimate diplomate program through the ICA or the ACA. It's a diplomate through the Gonstead Society. So we are the first technique in history to have a true postgraduate diplomate, and it's called the CBPD.
Yeah, it's actually a big deal because in a lot of states, including in Florida, I couldn't put on any advertising that I was certified in anything. I couldn't say that I was a fellow in anything because you'd be brought up on charges for misadvertising or fraudulent advertising. They would only recognize, our state would only recognize anything that was recognized as a diplomat status from the ACA or the ICA, so that it was nationally recognized. So, in all the years that I practiced there, we couldn't do that. So a diplomat status actually brings a lot of legal credibility to what you're doing and truly sets you apart. And while there's one other diplomat, it's not specific to a technique, it's a group of techniques. Right, like the upper cervical group through the ICA, but we're the only ones that actually have a technique as a diplomat. And there's a lot of coursework that's going to go along with that, and but it's going to truly set you apart from all the other chiropractors out there.
Well, not only that, man, but I'll bring in not too much profanity, but a little bit. You're just going to know your shit backwards, forward, sideways. I mean, you're going to be the best. For those people that truly, their core value is be their best, you will be the best in the world. There won't be nobody that knows biomechanics and how to fix the spine and how to diagnose that could even compare.
Yeah, and that's absolutely true, Fred. And the biggest thing, first of all, people are going to ask and have already asked, why would the ICA actually, put their status and professional program or entity on the line, not program, but, organization on the line and go ahead and do this? And the answer is they actually couldn't not do it because of the research that CBP has put forth. I mean, nobody else has done the type, the nature, and the quality of research that CBP technique has done. And it's not just one or two trials here or there. We've done the whole gamut of, reliability, validity, clinical utility, case studies, case series, randomized trials, etc. And so we've done everything we're supposed to have done to answer the question, can we actually have an evidence-based approach in chiropractic to spine rehabilitation and spine correction? And the answer is yes, and we've got over 200 papers supporting it in the peer-reviewed literature. And that's why the ICA went ahead and said, you know what, we're going to go ahead and put our organization behind this and we're going to put this out as a CBP diplomate program.
Well, it's awesome. I've been working with you, Deed, for about 10 years.
And he just made a donation, by the way, Deed. You realize that, right?
I like that.
Yeah, right.
But, it's, from in the past, it was, people could choose to look at CBP, and now they can't. You can't avoid it. All the work that you've done, it's like, you can't ignore it anymore.
Right.
You can't just say you just don't know CBP. Like, those days are ending. It's obviously not everybody does it, but they know those three letters.
Right. Right. And the only thing you can do now is you can say, oh, well, it's poor quality work and it's, self-serving and it's, extremely biased. And the only thing they can do is they can make hominem attacks about it and basically ethical attacks. They can't deny that it actually exists. Right.
Right.
Which is, you can't ignore it anymore, man. Way to go. You're waving the big flag right in everybody's face.
Right. Yeah.
Now all they have is excuses.
Right.
That's all that's left.
That's right. And real quick before I get into the program itself, I just want to go into, I think maybe you guys saw my Facebook post that I did a few weeks ago because of what was going on. And, I don't participate in internet, Facebook chat rooms and stuff. I do the CBP one. But I was getting tagged in this other forum where different quote unquote experts from, around the world in chiropractic were ripping CBP. And, one of the comments was, that our work's not well received and it's not internationally known and all that kind of crap. Well, today with today's technology, you can actually address that. And, so what I did is I went ahead and posted some of my ResearchGate information. And ResearchGate is this almost like its own website or its own little organization online for researchers around the world that are really investigating anything in healthcare. And so, you can look at spine sciences, you can look at, neurological sciences, et cetera. And you can find researchers from around the world in this organization called ResearchGate. So you just have to have a peer-reviewed publication. You got to build your profile, and then you load your papers into there, and then you build your profile by saying, okay, I'm a chiropractor, or I'm a spine biomechanics specialist, or whatever it is, right? What your expertise is and what you've done, and then people look you up because they might be interested in that. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to look at your work and see if it applies to their work, or see if you can build on something that you've done, or maybe they reach out to you as an expert and they go, hey, I'm working on this and I see you've done a lot on it. I've got some questions for you, right? So it's this international forum of, DCs, PTs, MDs, PhDs, everybody. So I got on there, and of interest, the CBP research, which is really what it's not me, it's under my profile, but it's really CBP research. And I can look up how I rank internationally across other fields and across other people. And I'm in the top 5% of all researchers on ResearchGate.
That's awesome.
It's international.
Right.
Then I can look up how many times each one of our CBP nonprofit papers has been cited in PubMed and other peer-reviewed indexing sources. And I can look at, how many other researchers' papers have been cited. And our average paper is cited something like 28 times in peer-reviewed literature, which means that there's, an average of 28 other papers that were published after ours that look at our work and go, hey, that's a valuable contribution to this topic, I've read it and I'm citing it in my work.
Yeah, you know what's neat, and I'll cut you off there. How many times, because I see it because I'm on a couple of the papers there, the reliability, especially our spine papers on the posterior tangent method, and how many orthopedists and neurosurgeons are actually citing and using the posterior tangent method that your father created, and all these other different specialties are actually using that, right? And then we have the chiropractors say, well, it's only CBP that measures the spine that way. And yet we have all these research papers now citing the posterior tangent method as the method to measure the spine, that it's reliable and it's the only valid way of measuring the spine. And yet a chiropractor says, oh, well, those medicines, it's just their stuff. I'm like, really? Really? I try not to be engaged in a lot of these things that I see, but it's always the same researchers or quote researchers online that seem to go after CBP. What makes it worse is that some of the biggest people on there that say certain things have maybe published one paper, two papers, and they're at best, and they're actually experts of Facebook, really.
Right.
And they write so much on Facebook, one wonders how they can actually be in active practice.
Right.
But I wanted to leave that there, but go on about what the scores were, what you were.
Hey, but I have another question. And this is for you, D. This is a basic one. This isn't a research thing at all, but man, you grew up obviously with your dad, and man, you've seen CBP from its inception. And then you look at that, other people citing your work and using you as a reference, I don't think anybody, maybe Charlene has a little bit of an idea because you live with her for so long, has an idea of the amount of energy, mental, emotional, physical energy that has gone into what you do. So when you see that and you get recognized on that level, man, how's that make you feel?
It's two things, Fred. Thanks for that. I mean, it's actually astonishing and it's humbling, because I just never envisioned myself that way. And sometimes I still don't. I mean, I know I'm pretty smart when it comes to certain things in spine and chiropractic, but it's so ingrained in me that I actually forget that maybe other people may not know that. Because I don't see myself that way, when it does come about, then I have to stop and pause and I have to go, holy shit, we're really making a huge impact. I can't believe that, this other person is citing my paper.
Well, they reach out to you as Professor Harrison, by the way.
Yeah. And I always smile when I hear that. And sometimes it's people that I hold huge high esteem, and I go, holy cow, this person's actually reaching out to me or referencing my work too. It's like, it's extremely humbling, really.
Well, and it's, the thing is that your vision and what you want to do is so big, and this is true of any great leader. Like, our vision is so big. We want to change chiropractic around the world and in the general public, where CBP defines chiropractic. So when you look at that vision, and then you see where you are now, sometimes it's easy to forget because we're always pushing to the next level, So I get why you're humble and you don't see yourself that way, because your vision is so big. It's like, it's just a step. And sometimes you got to go, holy shit, that was a big freaking step.
Right.
That was a big one.
Right. And just because I've got to acknowledge them, the team that I've been doing a lot of work with, you guys know, and you've never met them, is the group from Cairo, Egypt, and now they're also in the United Arab Emirates, is where Professor Ibrahim Mustafa also is an affiliate professor there now. And just to be able to work with those individuals, it's a huge honor for me, and it's a huge deal because they actually reached out to me as grad students. And if he wouldn't have done that, I mean, we wouldn't have never done all these amazing randomized trials, and we wouldn't have PTs interested in this work. And I mean, let's be honest, it's bigger than, just chiropractic. Even though it started with chiropractic, it's healthcare. And if you can't get, healthcare around the world through chiropractic, because there's only 70 to 80, 90,000 of us. You've got to have other individuals doing this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's really it's a cool thing to have researchers from around the world reach out to you and go, hey, you know what? I value your work, and I'd love to be a part of improving it and seeing if it's really as good as we hoped it was. You know what I mean? So this is a big deal to work with the group from Cairo, Egypt. And I can't bring it up, so don't ask me, but we have another huge randomized trial that we've just done that I'm writing up and getting ready to submit with Chiro. I mean, it's huge. It's the biggest one we've
and by the way, Deed, I just want to let that this one I think is secret from me, but yet you asked me to make images for it and didn't tell me what the paper was about, but you just told me to make this image. Thanks a lot, man.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need something from you, but you'll see it when it gets accepted for publication. You'll see what it was all about. But it's the biggest randomized trial that we've done to date, and it's a really impressive piece of work. And I'm like anything that we do, you're hopeful that it gets published. But we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Like later, like in 6 months.
yeah, exactly. You know, we'll see when it gets accepted. But anyway, but what I'd love to talk about is the requirements for the CBP Diplomate program.
Cool.
So, you know, a Diplomate program is a huge deal, and we've always wanted to do it, but it's like, how do you do it and you make it legit, right? So CBP now has 2 week-long trainings. So we have a general week-long, and you brought that up, Fred, where we cover the first 7 courses in CBP. That's roughly a 70 to 80-hour program. And then we have an advanced week-long that is also covering 7 courses, and that covers another, actually 80 hours or even more if you do the one of the 3-day weekends with us on it. So we have these 2 week-long programs where we have general and advanced certification. And that used to be all we had, right? That's a lot. And then you throw in the CBP annual, and you've got 15 courses.
Mm-hmm.
At 15 courses, and I thought, well, not enough for a CBP Diplomate program. Your mirror image exercises there, Fred.
I know. I'm getting this thing down my back. I know I'm translated. I was looking at myself thinking, I wonder how many people are noticing that right now doing my translation.
Yeah, so I just say to people, no, it's a projection problem. The camera was off.
Yeah, right. There it is. Oops, it looks like I'm translated. No, there I am. Wait.
Right. So, we had 15 courses and roughly 160 hours roughly of course material. And how do you turn that into 300 hours, which is really the minimum for the average Diplomate program, right? And so we thought long and hard about it, and we said, well, what's missing from the CBP certification series that we already have with the 2 week-long programs that I generally hold, here in Eagle, Idaho. And by the way, that's the best way to take those courses is, the week-longs. You take them on the weekends, but man, you're fly over, and you're going to take a lot longer.
Hey,
right?
can I make a comment on that too?
Sure. Spend a lot more money doing the hotels, all those different places too.
Well, I mean, those are the facts of why the certification is a week long, but also it's really the experience because you're with 50 or 60 other people that become your family through the week.
Yeah.
It's not like chiropractic school, you go through the training with the same people, except this is way better, right? So I think your emotional commitment to CBP and to the people is way greater. You have the experience that you'll just always remember and create those connections in CBP.
And those persist on Facebook as well, too. You can see what groups have certified together, seem to comment. And also we have fun on a Facebook group as well, too. You make true lifelong friends there. It's just like your classmates going through school that you never forget. And you help with a lot of cases, through Facebook, and it's great, that community.
Yep. Yeah, I appreciate that, guys. So, we thought about, what can we do to make this a better program, and how do we fulfill true requirements, not just making up hours, right? So we decided, one of the things we need to do is basically a clinical ground rounds. The doctor goes into a CBP office that's already an instructor, and they're already trained, and they're already at diplomate status, and then they spend a week in that practice. We decided that was 40 hours of the program. A chiropractor is going to go in there, and it may actually be 50. It may be 5 days, and you're doing 10-hour days. So it's somewhere between 40 and 50 hours. It's a clinical week. Give you your choice of training centers, and you go and spend a week with 3 to 5 other doctors that are there training under an already certified and trained CBP instructor that's got a diplomate status. So that's a third week to the program. So basically 3 weeks of somebody's life they have to dedicate, and they're roughly at 210 hours of education. And we thought, well, that's not enough either, because you have to get to the minimum of 300 hours, and it's better to be more than 300 hours, right? So now we're at, roughly 2/3. So we got 210 hours. So I sat down with the board, and I kind of guided it, but it was collectively the board's, suggestion that, hey, what is it that really separates CBP from the techniques? Why did the ICA said, hey, we're going to endorse this program? And it's the peer-reviewed research, right? So we said, well, here's what's required of the CBP diplomate then. They have to read every single paper that was published in the peer-reviewed literature, all 200 of them, right? And as more are published, they're going to have to read those. So then how do you make sure that somebody has read those? Well, you have to build an online program where the PDF is there, and you have a video that covers, the research paper that they have to watch, which is me doing these videos. And then there's going to be an evaluation that they have to fill out at the end of every paper that they read and they watch the video. So each one is going to take an hour to read a paper, some a little bit longer, some obviously faster as a case report, but the average is going to be an hour. And so after they read and watch a video and then rate the paper and evaluate the paper with an online form, that'll be another 200 hours. So we'll be at 410 hours for the CBP diplomate program.
And so realistically, it's better you do this now before we have 100 more papers.
Yeah, exactly.
It's going up, yeah. And it'll continue to go up. So, the benchmark set right now at roughly, 410 hours, give or take. And, document that. I've built a new online website, and it'll launch hopefully April. There's a lot to it, and we're all contributing videos. Each lead author has to do a video review of their own paper. So Dr. Joe, when you're out here, your peer-reviewed publication, you're going to have to sit down and.
But you teach it so well.
No, it's not my paper. You're going to have to do a 30-minute. You got to stretch it to 30 minutes.
Oh, I can stretch anything 30 minutes.
I know. I got this. It's like me talking about the diplomate program. I could go on and on.
Yeah.
But, there'll be basically 200 videos that they'll have to work through and tag off their list. And then real quick, just because I know there's going to be a lot of questions out there, doctors will get credit for their past coursework if they've taken it in a reasonable amount of time. What that means is anybody that's taken one of the CBP courses in the last 5, maybe in some cases up to 10 years, if the course hasn't really changed, they'll get credit for it. But if you've taken the courses, 10 years or more ago, I'm sorry, you're going to have to redo them.
A lot changes. Yeah.
So, go ahead, Fred. Sorry.
I mean, you've I wouldn't say changed, but added and improved in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say 5 years tops.
Yeah. I agree with that. I just got it. You know how I am, Fred. I'm so careful. I don't want people to think I'm just trying to make money off of them. I'm not. It just, I gotta have some kind of cutoff because, there are limits and there are updates to all the courses. So it's like, what kills me is the guys that took it in the 90s and think that they're, trained in CBP. And I'm like, you don't know anything, man.
Yeah.
The only thing you know how to do is mirror image, and that's it.
Yeah, extension compression.
Yeah, and they don't understand the complexity of how we manage cases today, and a number of things. But anyway, so that's the Diplomate program, and we'll be ready to start it sometime. Certainly before June. It has to do with the online education site that I'm building, and that's my story so far.
So I have a question. Lots of things are going through my head, but so for all the people that are out there, that you have such a loyal following, and really as a group, we want to get the more people we have doing CBP, and now, you hear all the challenges about the equipment and blah 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 blah, but more and more people are pouring into it, and especially we live in a different world now. When you talk to chiropractors, man, the people that aren't doing correction, that base their patient outcome on subjective things. The people say, well, I use range of motion. Well, 2 adjustments can change range of motion. And then people call me because they're burned out on the pain conversations and they want to move to correction. So with insurance getting worse, a corrective care model, obviously it matches a principle. Obviously it does the best for the patient. So that we know that's not even a variable, but as a model for chiropractic, you're going to have better retention. It's all on objective findings. It's not on subjective. So how would you suggest the people that are listening to this go to their friends that are struggling in pain-based practice or looking for a new model? How would you introduce them to CBP, and how would you recommend the best way to get started?
Yeah, number one, there's always going to be different types of people, and this, Fred. You coach this. Some people are going to go, man, there's a Diplomate program on this. I do. I want to do this. I want to dive in. I want to be a specialist and expert, and that's really unique in healthcare. People seek out the specialists. People seek out the experts. Why does somebody go to a neurologist? Well, they're a specialist. Why does somebody go to this particular doctor? Well, they're a specialist. Well, when you're a CBP Diplomate, you're now a specialist in chiropractic, and it's specifically in corrective chiropractic. So that's a big sell in and of itself. You're going to be specifically and differently trained. When somebody walks into your office as a CBP doctor, they see you're different, and you sell them on the difference of what you do and the reliability and the validity of what you do right away, just on face value with what they see, right? Because you know this, Fred. You coach this on how to show people that corrective care is different, and it's not what I say. It's look at what we do, right?
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. The second thing is, hey, I ask people all the time, okay, are you really happy doing what you're doing? Do you really think that you're changing spines the way you thought you were supposed to do? And if you can answer that question and go, yeah, routinely, I correct spines routinely, then we don't need to have a further conversation. If you go, well, what do you mean?
Yeah. What do your post x-rays look like?
Yeah, right? And the person, when you ask questions like you train everybody to do, Fred, ask questions, you start to find out, are they truly meeting what their vision and their purpose really is? And most chiropractors out there that aren't doing correction, they aren't really fulfilling their inside innate vision and purpose. When you break it down to them, they're like, oh my God, I'm just doing spinal manipulation.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really fixing anything. What are my goals? What are my outcomes? Am I truly changing somebody's spine for the long term, for the better?
Well, that's a great statement because obviously elite coaching is, correct care and CBP. And so when I talk to people, talking to a chiropractor, like, you don't come right out of the gate and hit them in the face with a shovel and tell them they're wrong. But that's one of my first questions is, well, what's your outcome for patients? When a patient comes in, what are you telling them the outcome is? And it's fascinating. It's exactly what you said, Deed. The more they talk about what they do, you don't have to convince them because they're realizing based on what they say, they have a subjective model without a strong grounding or foundation.
Yep. Right. They all realize that as soon as anybody that's anybody that takes x-rays initially, they all have patients to say, well, doc, when are we going to take that follow-up x-ray? Right. And they're all struggling with that question. So those people that are struggling with that question on when are they going to take that other x-ray, they know they don't want to take it because they don't know how to fix it. They'll make up every excuse why they don't want to take that x-ray. So if they're struggling with that question and they know they're struggling with that question, no matter what they tell the patient in their head, they can't live with it. So those are the people that need to come and experience what we have in CBP.
Yeah, and one of the things that I tell them, Deed, you go through this, now you have 5 studies on the dental roll that show 13-degree correction in 30 visits, right? There's 5 that all of them say 13 degrees. Is that what it is?
Yeah, that's what the average is.
Right. And so I tell people, look, put them on this, just put it in the right place. You can take an x-ray. You can figure out, call me and we'll tell you where the right place is.
Right.
And the average is like 60% of the population what a dental roll would apply to.
Yeah.
60% of your patient base can get an average of 13-degree correction. So it's like there's no excuse for anybody now. It's you've made it as easy as possible for anyone to get changes.
Yep. Yeah, that's right. And it's true. Yeah. And that 60% comes from the inclusion criteria and the randomized trials that we look at. You got to screen people and you look at how many of them were included in the trial and how many of them weren't, and then what their, dose response was. And those numbers are actually legit based on randomized trials.
Yeah, those are all fancy words for get a freaking dental roll because you're going to get 13-degree correction.
Right.
Those are all big words for a collidial spine. Get a freaking dental roll.
Right.
Yeah, but it's something that you got to make sure you know how to use because, people misuse it, significantly. And you just can't go into it blindly. You have to use x-ray to make sure. Otherwise, anybody and their brother could use it and we would sell it at Walmart, right? But you have to use it the right way because if you don't, just as easy as you can help somebody, you can hurt somebody.
Yeah.
Well, right. You don't know if they're an actual candidate for it until you do a proper exam, until you do an x-ray, and then, rule in and rule out things. And then, also we know this, there's that 40% that doesn't respond to the dental roll, that you've got to do other things in office. And all, by the way, all the randomized trials did other interventions in the office too. It wasn't just, using dental roll at home. But, the simplicity of it, we can make spine correction pretty routinely and pretty simply. So, people need to get on board with this for sure.
Yeah, it's pretty much plastered on the wall right behind you.
Yeah.
Good product placement. I need to do that, Fred.
I didn't intend to do that, but I'm in my conference room and I'm sitting at my podium. I don't just want to promote dental roll with Adrian in Sydney, Australia. It's chiropractic biophysics. Dental roll is a tool that we use, but here it is in the background. I'm noticing that too, and I'm going, God, should I put my head over?
Yeah.
Cover that up,
Yeah, so now it's not dinner roll, it's denna roll. There you go.
Right.
Spelled for you right there.
Right, exactly. Sorry, my mind started wandering there for a minute. Damn it. But the big thing that I also want to say about this Diplomate program is it really attests to the fact that it's not just me. It's, I do own CBP and I'm the CEO and I make the decisions, but I do have a board. I have an executive board and we, work with the CBP nonprofit board and we put together a group from the CBP nonprofit board that basically advises me and works with the ICA. And then what we have is we have a team of leaders that are nationally and internationally, recognized and renowned that are part of this CBP Diplomate program. And so I just got to let everybody know it's not like, the Deed Harrison show, so to speak. We've got Dr. Joe Ferrantelli, who, is actually, like it or not, Joe, is an, internationally known chiropractor. He's an expert. He's done publications. He's developed original things. And
no, I just do software, man. I'm just the app guy.
Right. Which is fun.
They don't even know that I'm a chiropractor half the time.
Right. Until they actually start to talk to you. But, so we've got, Dan Murphy, who's also an international authority and recognized presenter. Dr. Chris Kaloka does some work for us and speaks for us. And, he's an internationally recognized and renowned chiropractor. We've got Jeb McAveeney from Australia, who's an internationally renowned authority in chiropractic and holds a, advanced degree as well. And, he does the Scolly Brace courses. And, if I forget somebody, I'm sorry, but I'll and you guys can chime in. We've got Dr. Jason Yeager that is also becoming an internationally renowned chiropractic presenter. He's been out for more than a decade, has done peer-reviewed research, etc. Dr. Evan Katz in Colorado, who's certainly considered an international expert in chiropractic on motor vehicle crash collision injuries, and on and on. We've got for pediatrics, we've got Dr. Jennifer Brandon, and then Jessica Dukowski, and those doctors are pediatric diplomate and CBP trained diplomate, and they come in and teach the courses. And so, the list goes on and on. We've got a team of professionals, that works with us and is going to train you. So it's really a huge deal. And I bring all these names up, and I know I forgot some.
Yeah. Lenny Siskin and Jason Haas. Keep going on and on. And Sandy Haas.
Right. And they're in there, Dr. Jason Haas and Sandy Haas. And, Jason obviously is anybody that listens to Jason Haas speak, they know he knows his shit. He's published in peer-reviewed literature. He directs and runs an amazing practice. He's a great teacher. And, Dr. Sandy Haas, same, right? So it goes on and on.
Hey, wait, don't forget Dr. Jason Miller, who only is a snowboarder, by the way. I have to point that out for Dr. Miller. He every time I ski, I got to post that he can't be on Deer Valley Mountain.
Yeah, we totally. Dr. Jason Miller, amazing chiropractor, runs, 2 or 3 clinics with his partner, Scott. And these people have taught at chiropractic colleges, taught our coursework, in practice, private practice, their own practices, not as an associate doctor. They've done peer-reviewed publications, and I mean, that's our team. It's an international group of like-minded experts. So,
Boyd.
Yeah, Paul Oakley.
Cindy Boyd. Yeah, we don't want to mention
just
Paul.
Keeps going.
Paul doesn't do anything.
Paul's never written a research study, I hear.
Right.
We joke because he's the one guiding a lot of the research lately. He's been such a great help for CBP's nonprofit.
Huge. Yeah, huge. We'll get him on this,
Yeah, we could have like 4 faces on here. This would be great. It'd be like, one of those TV shows.
Right. So, I mean, I don't want to belabor it, too much, but
we have a lot of help, a lot of educators. When you come to these conferences and go through the diplomat status, we have a lot of people, a lot of different personalities. Some people gravitate to different aspects of CBP based on those personalities, which is really good. So a lot of people don't like Deed Harrison, you can learn CBP.
Right. Which is terrible.
Yeah.
Totally terrible.
We like to have fun like that in the seminars, by the way, too. Harassing each other.
Well, the other thing is too, we forgot, I don't want to forget anybody, but damn it.
Because they're gonna say you didn't tell them.
Right. But like, Curtis Fedorchuk, who's done an amazing job with research and teaching,
I don't think Curtis has done enough studies though.
Right. He's getting close to, I might in the future write him not another, but an actual letter of, recommendation to get in the country this time, but I didn't know him before.
Yeah. Curtis has done a lot of research studies lately, so that's why we're joking with him.
Cool.
Right.
Hey, we're coming up on an hour, guys.
Yeah.
We always like having fun.
You know, do you have any closing remarks?
Got any closing remarks, Joe?
No, for me, I just want to invite everybody out to the next CBP seminar. We have this weekend. What do we have? We have a hands-on workshop coming up, and then following in 2 weeks, we have a scoliosis workshop in Eagle, Idaho. And if memory serves me, we have a cervical rehab coming up in Nashville in March.
Yeah.
So those would be all very good studies, especially if you're new to CBP. You know, if you can't get to the week-long seminar that's coming up, that cervical rehab in Nashville is going to be a well-attended one. Make sure you book now before it gets sold out.
And Fred, anything else?
You know, I would just say that, like we said before, now, Dee, you've created it where people can't ignore CBP. So now that people heard about it, the thing is they get caught up in their life and they have good intentions. Yeah, I want to look, I hear that when I talk to people who aren't CBP. Yeah, I've been thinking about going. Everybody knows probably at least a handful of chiropractors that aren't in it, that know about it, that are probably thinking about it. And we just say something, and we just prompt them, then we can get those people in here, because the more successful CBP docs we create, obviously the more impact we have on the general public. But also, everybody on this video and everybody that you named, Deed, all have the common vision that CBP is a healthcare system. And, chiropractic's been around for 123 years now or something. And, I think that we can make an impact more of an impact in the next decade than we've made in over 100 years. But we need to just come together and get these people that already know about it, that really want to be in it, but they just haven't moved yet. So I would just encourage you to donate to the nonprofit. Everybody can do $100 a month. I do a couple $100. So everybody
automatically pulled out of the
talk to
account.
people.
Yep.
And talk about it, man, and be that example where other people look at you and they say, wow, how do you do what you do? I do CBP. That's what they should say. I don't even care if people say I do elite. That doesn't matter. It's CBP.
I appreciate that. Hey, can I end on a research paper?
Sure.
I always like to do that. It's just like old school, bringing back the old flavor.
Yep.
So I just want to end on a study that I still think that most people aren't aware of. It's our latest randomized trial that we did, and it was published in 2017 in the Journal of Back and Musculoskeletal Rehabilitation. And the title is, Does Rehabilitation of the Cervical Lordosis in Sagittal Cervical Spine Flexion and Extension Kinematics in Subjects with Cervical Spondylotic Radiculopathy, by my good colleague Ibrahim Mustafa, Aliyah Diab, Fatima Hagazi, and then myself. Ibrahim was the lead author, and this was actually part of his PhD dissertation at Chiro University. This was published in 2017, and essentially what it showed is that when we restore the cervical curve in a group that got extension two-way traction, so Pope two-way traction, that restore the cervical curve, that's what improves the cervical spine flexion and extension kinematics. And we looked at, the ARA, so the absolute rotation angle, C2 to C7, but we also looked at the segmental rotations and the segmental translations, and showed statistically significant changes in the segmental rotations and translations that were linearly related to the amount of cervical curve restoration. This is a huge project that kind of just, under the radar. It's like some of my projects that I'm doing with these guys in Chiro, they're under the radar. And I don't know why a bigger deal wasn't made out of this. Because for the first time, we showed that when we correct alignment of the spine, it improves true kinematic movement. And it is linearly related to the correction, and it's stable at long-term follow-up. So, I mean, huge project. So if chiropractors are interested in movement, which they should be, flexion and extension, then you got to restore the cervical curve. Bless you, Fred.
Yep. Especially, I mean, to think about all these traumas that we take into our practices that we help that have altered, instability in their spine. We've seen so many cases now. Once we restore that cervical curve and get their sagittal balance better, it's almost like a miracle happens that their spine actually becomes more stable on these instabilities that we're taught we can't correct. We can't improve these instabilities, and yet we're seeing it consistently that these instabilities improve, especially segmental translations make a big difference.
Well, and it stays that way, right? A spine in alignment stays in alignment, and one out of alignment never gets into alignment.
Yep.
Right? Unless you have unless you use that force. Hey, anyway, it's great to be back. Actually, on February 22nd, we already have lined up Gilles Lamarche from Life. Neil Cohen from Sherman's coming in March. Tim Radcliffe wants to talk about what he wants to create in the Lockport experience, where doctors can go see CBP done in high volume, done effectively. We've got a bunch of other ones lined up. I forget right now. So we'll be on it. Next one, Gilles Lamarche, February 22nd.
Yes.
Awesome.
So we'll be here.
All right, guys.
All right, gang.
All right, guys. Good times. We'll talk to you soon. All right. Bye-bye.